she is, the beautiful Leanne Morgan. How we doing, Leanne?
Look at how beautiful y'all both are.
Oh,
wow.
You're so sweet.
Again, keep talking.
That's it. That's it. This is our favorite guest yet. So, Leanne, thank you so much for joining us today. I think you're hysterical, and I love your timing and your cadence on stage. It's just a joy to watch. And I'm excited to have you on the show today because very rarely do we get someone who is so talented and funny, but could shed some light on not only being a mother of 3, but a grandmother of 1.
You're double dipping.
Honey, and our grandbaby on the way.
Oh,
I've got another baby coming.
So
I know.
Congratulations on the grandbaby and the grandbaby on the way. And I wanted to ask you to kick this off. You raising 3 kids and now to see one of your kids raising a child, what are the major differences in parenting from generation to generation? What are you seeing that she's doing, maybe that you didn't do?
Well, the baby, my grandbaby, Charles Wilbur, first let me tell y'all, that's his name. That's Angel from Heaven. And thank you for all the sweet words, Sebastian. My favorite bit of yours of all time is the raccoon. And I don't have a lick of sense. Honey, unbelievable, killed me. And you're like our Elvis, really, Sebastian. And then, honey, I don't have a lick of sense over a doctor. And I tried to date him when I was in college, but I smoked cigarettes in the 80s and I smelled bad. And I never got to date somebody that achieved what you have. But anyway, okay.
Either as my wife, so, but thank you.
And I hate that I even told you that I smoked in the 80s. Okay, my boy is the daddy of this baby. And so I've got a boy and 2 girls. And my boy got married right out of college and married his college sweetheart. And she is wonderful and a wonderful mother. And when I see them parent this baby, they are doing wonderfully. And I've got a degree in child and family studies. And so I loved the whole, everything, child development and all that, love all that. And so I feel like I did a pretty good job with mine, but I look back and think that how many mistakes I made, and I made a lot. But I watch my boy parent, and he is so present. My husband had to make a living for all these kids and all of us. And he was, my generation was out trying to hoof it and making a living. And my husband stayed gone. And it was really very traditional roles. I stayed home. I was doing comedy. I've done comedy for 22 years and I got started when they were babies, but I wasn't out there working like Sebastian was. I was doing what I could to keep one toe in comedy and raise my children, put my children first as the mama. So my husband was gone and really was not able to be present like my son is. And my son, has a full-time job, but he is so hands-on and helps. He and his wife are partners, real partners. And she just got her MBA. She works full-time. This baby's in daycare. And that, I tell y'all, you boys, that was hard on me for this baby to be in daycare. I'm from the school of, I thought everybody was supposed to stay at home. And I look back on it and I think, I didn't teach my kids anything. I mean, we watched Barney. We just sat and kissed in the mouth. I didn't teach them anything. Lord, I don't know how they're functioning, really. But that baby is in daycare and he's doing great. And my boy is just very hands-on, very team-oriented with his wife. They both do the same, the same amount of work and all of that. And I know that's a long drawn out to tell y'all, but my boy also, they're like limiting pacifier. They won't let him suck on a passy very long because they don't want to ruin his teeth. And as a grandmother, I can tell that it kills me for them to take that pacifier away from him. And I shouldn't feel that way. That's their baby. They don't want to ruin his teeth, but as a grandmama, I don't want him to suffer, ever. And I can see myself letting him do whatever he wanted to in private. Oh, wait. I know. I mean, and things that I know are not good. But they're just different than a grandmama,
Right, you love your kids, but you don't obsess over your grandkids, right?
Yes, and the things that I worried about my children now, oh yeah, I think y'all don't need to be worried about that. And I know nobody's asked me for my advice, but I look back on it and I think me and my husband made ours played all that travel sports and all that crap. We bought into that. You got to be a Division I athlete, and your kids got to play on this baseball team and have 8 uniforms and travel and all that mess. And now I tell them, you let that little baby play with a stick in the yard.
Yeah.
And not get in all that mess.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, I think a lot of families are pressured, especially in sports and athletics today, to have their kid be the top athlete or the number one,
whatever,
next whatever. So you mentioned a little bit about being a comedian and being a mother and juggling those two, and you said you always put your family first, which I admire. Now that they're kind of grown, have you found a new kind of lease on doing stand-up now that they're kind of on their own out of the house? I'm assuming your daughters are they still at the house?
No, they're 25 and 26, about to turn 27. Yeah, Sebastian, I couldn't get arrested. All those years, nobody cared. I did comedy. I would have a television deal for a sitcom. It wouldn't make it, all that. I would think I was going to be the next Roseanne, and then it would be over with, and I'd, be depressed. I've raised them in Knoxville, Tennessee. But now that this thing started blowing up for me in 2019, I was about to quit doing comedy. I think I had seen that clip about the raccoons in the garden, and you blew me away. But I thought, I knew I was going to have a grandbaby, and me being from the country, from farming people in Tennessee, when we know we got a grandbaby coming, we start wearing house dresses and cooking pinto beans. Honey, that's what we do. And I thought, I'm going to tend to this baby, and I've had a ball in comedy, but it's not going great. I'm going to bow out of this thing, and maybe I can pop popcorn in a NASCAR track or something. And then I had some videos go viral, which is crazy. One especially about my husband taking him to go see Def Leppard and Journey and how sick everybody looked. And that resonated with people. And this thing took off, and I started selling out all over the United States. And in it still, I pinch myself. I cannot believe it. And then I got a big old tour and went on this, 100-city tour, and I'm about to start another one. And these kids are having a ball. I'm telling you, we're all having a ball. I shot a Netflix special. I thought I was going to be the only grandmother on Netflix, and I found out Miss Pat had grandbabies. And she went to prison, so she's got 2 things on me. But anyway, all these grown kids, everybody goes, oh, what did they think about? Growing up, they knew I was on Nick at Night, and I would do a couple of things, but they just thought of me as mom. And now, like out here, I'm in LA this month, and my baby's with me, my 25-year-old, and everybody is having a ball with this. And they just can't even believe it. I can't even believe it. But yeah, I feel like I've gotten the best of both worlds because I got to raise these children, and then this has happened in my career. But Sebastian, and I know this sounds sexist, and I don't mean for it to, but you've got a beautiful wife who is raising those children. You can get out and go on the road and and y'all are a team.
Yeah.
And like Bert Kreischer, his wife has raised those kids. My husband's in the mobile home industry. It wasn't as glamorous as being a star like you, but I took care of things at home. He was able to go and do what he had to do, and it made a good team. Well, am I talking out of my butt?
No,
I love
answers.
It's amazing.
I could listen to you talk all day long, and I think everything happens for a reason. And now that the fact that you're flourishing as a comedian, you do have this wonderful tour that's called Just Getting Started, starting in February 23rd, and I believe you're in Los Angeles at the Brea Improv this week. Am I correct?
Yeah, honey,
Okay.
I'm working out a new hour pulling stuff out of my butthole.
Okay, hey, well, that's where the best material comes from.
You should talk to the couple with pinworms. Yeah.
But no, it must be amazing at this point of your life to be touring and doing as well as you are. And it shouldn't be no surprise because you are a breath of fresh air, and it's something that I typically don't see in the comedy world. It's unique. It's refreshing. My wife is from Memphis, Tennessee. She went to University of Tennessee. So there's a definite twang in your voice that I hear around the house a lot. So,
my darling, I did not know that. I went to the University of Tennessee. I'm a lot older than her, but oh my gosh, go Vols! And she's a Memphis girl.
Oh yeah. Born and raised in Memphis, a Spanish Jew from Memphis, Tennessee, if you could believe that.
No, I cannot. No, I cannot. So then you got the Elvis. Then you get how we feel about our Elvis.
Oh
then.
yes.
And,
yes.
And you're kind of like Elvis.
I'm the Italian Elvis.
Yeah. You are cute.
But I wanted to also ask you, and I think you could shed some light for our listeners, you being a parent of grown kids, do you have any advice that you could give today's parents in raising kids? And do you have a regret maybe about your own parenting skills that you said, I wish I would have taught my kids the piano, or anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, I do wish I'd taught that. I wish they could have gotten piano. I do look back on that and think, why didn't one took banjo? My boy took the banjo and the mandolin. But the girls, we were working them like mules in volleyball, and they didn't get a musical instrument. Okay, and that is a regret. I do think that we did do some things right. And what we did do is we were not their friend. We disciplined them. I mean, we had boundaries, we had rules, we had discipline. We told them no. And my children went to a private school in Knoxville, and precious, wonderful school, but there were a lot of people that didn't say no, and they didn't want their children to go through any kind of suffering. And when I mean suffering, I mean like if you didn't make cheerleading, don't go up to the school and fire the cheer coach, and so your child can still make it, or make that way for your child. Let your child go through disappointment. Disappointment and suffering builds character. I believe that. And this world's hard enough. Your children need to not have everything given to them. They need to be able to go through trials so when they are on their own, they can handle it. And I think all three of my children cope effectively. They've had disappointment. They weren't given everything. My husband believes in everybody driving old vehicles until the wheels fall off in the interstate. He believes in paying cash for everything. He believed in everybody working a job in high school. And that's hard in this day and age, especially if you do well and you are affluent, to not want to give your children everything. But I've seen my kids work for things, and they value money, and I've seen some of their friends who weren't taught that, and it's hard. My boy, there was a little girl in his 6th grade class that came in there with a Louis Vuitton purse, and I said, stay away from that heifer. I said, because honey, how are you going to make her happy? You need to find somebody from the hood. Find somebody that's got some grit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, I know I'm long-winded, boys, but I do think we did that right. I think that you need to have discipline and be the parent and not the best friend when they're in high school and all that stuff. And then but you need to have fun with your children so they want to hang out with you when they're grown. Because see, my kids, they want to be with us, and I think that is a sweet testament to, we've enjoyed our children and we parented them, but now they're grown, and we all love, like we're going skiing in February and they all want to go. And of course, we pay for it, but also they like to be with us, and they want the grandbaby around us, and that is a blessing. Y'all are younger than me, but just wait until you get to be my age. I'm 57. You want to be with your kids, You want them to go off and do whatever they're going to do, but it's so nice to get to be with them. Sebastian, like you're with your yummy little daddy that I could eat his lips off.
I love everything that you have to say. If you ever write a book, I will buy the first copy. I mean, everything you're saying, it's things we talk about. It's, work ethic. It's instilling, you hope you instill in your kids drive and grit and go outside and play with a stick and all those things that we forget about as parents nowadays that we sort of were when we were younger, and we hope we're doing it right by our kids. And it's just, that perspective is amazing to hear.
Yeah, especially coming from someone like yourself who I think you touched on a great point. Don't treat your kids like you're the best friend. Have some, like, you got to be the authority figure. You got to have structure. You have to have discipline.
Discipline's not a bad word.
Yeah. Absolutely. And how you did it. Your husband was working like a mule. You were working like a mule at home, dipping your toe in the stand-up. Now the father figure, right, is so involved in the child rearing, especially early on. We never saw this. It's my dad. I think, I often joke, I think I met him when I was 18 because he was he was out of the house working. And, we're best friends now. I don't look back at those times and go, oh, this guy wasn't there for me. But now, what do you think? Do you think it's a pressure for the father to be intimately involved in the kid's life from day one? Is there a societal pressure, or is it coming from the home that the father now is literally, like she says,
involved in everything?
Yeah, equal. It's like, you change a diaper, I change a diaper. Shit, that was never the case growing up, right? So is this a good change that we're seeing a lot of fathers be participatory in the kids' upbringing, or is this something where it's like too many cooks in the kitchen? What's your take?
I think it's probably this new generation. I think young women demand it and want a partner in life. When I just did whatever Chuck Morgan said, I was like, oh, I need a chick. I need to get my hair highlighted. I'll do whatever he says. But this, I think, like my daughter-in-law, she's, they equally, they probably make about the same, I'd say. I don't know. They didn't tell me that. But I think that my daughter-in-law, Mary, she wants that from Charlie. She wants him to be, because she's towing the line just like he is. So I think it really is truly, everybody has to work now. Mm-hmm. These young people, everybody's got to have a job and to make it. And so they're teaming up to do that. But I also bet that Charlie, my son, saw Chuck going and traveling, and he wants to be more involved. I think he thinks that there can be more of a balance. And he knows he's going to be the breadwinner and make the living, but also he wants to take a big part in these children's lives, because my son is a minimalist, and, he's an outdoorsman. He's a fly fishing guide in the Smoky Mountains. He does not, they really are not driven by money like my husband and I were. We, wanted a bigger house, wanted, our children to go to private school, all those things. My son and his wife are not driven by that. And they want more, how young people are now. Everybody wants an experience. Mm. Everybody, kumbaya. My boy grows his own garden. And I don't know if there's going to have to be bologna in the, I can't, I'm sorry, I don't mean going back, but that's one of my favorite bits of all time. But my son grows a lot of their food, and they just really they don't put a lot of pressure on themselves to have a bigger house and all that kind of stuff. He would rather be at home with that baby at night. And now a new boy's coming, and, he'll want to take them fishing. He's just got he's driven, but he's not like my husband. My husband was driven. We got to do better. We got to do, all that. And maybe it's because my boy was raised with a nicer home and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. That's just not a priority for him. And maybe young people are like that. Maybe their ideal thing is different than what mine and my husband's were.
I think
that's the long Wait,
No, I think
I'm
you're
sorry.
right. I think today's generation is happier, maybe doing more with the family. You hear a lot of these kids are like, I'd like to take 4 months off and
I would too.
you
Yeah, right.
backpack or stay in a hostel. They're not driven by maybe what past generations were driven by, as far as succeeding and buying a bigger house or living a lifestyle that they think they need. So I think it might be a generational shift in the thinking of today's young parents, where they're happy with just being happy, and we were not happy. Or I know my dad was like, gotta work. It was just like it was like a religion. He's still working 76 and he's still cutting hair with half his shoulder. So yeah, I think
And expectations are different within the relationship, right? Like, would you get away doing nothing in your house? Me get away? No, our wives would be like, go do this.
Mhm.
Your mom probably wouldn't do that to your dad, because the expectation back then was the husband's out working. The societal differences at that time were very different.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a 2-income household now, so all the work is split down the middle, and everybody's responsible for everything. Where maybe when you were coming up, it was, I'm gonna go out and you're gonna manage the house, and when I come home, leave me alone.
Yeah. My husband is very Fred Flintstone in a lot of ways. Wonderful in a lot of ways, but very kind of Fred Flintstone and very old school. And I don't know, even though I was trying to do comedy, and he was always he would take care of the kids when if I did get booked on the weekends or whatever, he would take care of them. But yeah, we had definite roles, and I was okay with that. I wanted to be a mama. I breastfed all of mine. I, wanted them to sleep in the bed. I mean, I'm very kumbaya about all that kind of stuff, child family studies. And, but, yeah, my boy and his wife, like, they want to camp. We're near the Smoky Mountains, and I think for my next tour, I'm going to buy him a camper, Sebastian, for these boys. And I want them to get out and camp and, like, be together and do all that kind of stuff. Like, it's just different than what my husband and I wanted. We, took big vacations and all that kind of stuff. They don't care about all that we cared about. And then how are these young people going to do it? I mean, I feel sorry for them, because, two people have to work now. It is a rat race. I also think, I was going to tell you all this, I think my son saw my husband work all the time and not really have much downtime, and he's just said to me one day, I'm not going to chase a big house. I'm not going to chase cars. I don't want it, all that, so that I cannot be with my family, that I have to, work like a dog and not be with them. And I think he's got a good value system in that.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds it sounds like you did an amazing job with your kids, and now you're going to have a wonderful experience with your grandchildren. I thank you so much for joining us today. I envision a very lucrative, abundant tour for you. I see you not staying where you are, but growing leaps and bounds. You're just getting started, like the name of your tour, and I don't see you at all slowing down, and we need more comedians like you out there, because you are a breath of fresh air, and just a wonderful human being, and a funny lady at that. And just want to thank you once again.
Thank you so much for the perspective. It was awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Y'all are both darling, and if I had been younger, I would have flirted with both of y'all. And I would. Hey, y'all are both so cute. And Sebastian, I want you to know, in every meeting I'm in, everything is, if we could all be Sebastian. Well, Lynn, can you be Sebastian? Everything is Sebastian's up here. So anyway, I admire you so much, my darling. Thank you for saying all that. And thank you so much for having me. Y'all are
Thank
both.
you.
Absolutely.
All the best.
Enjoy your
Congratulations.
day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
The opinions expressed in this program are not intended as professional medical advice, as a diagnosis, as a treatment protocol, or as a substitute for professional medical advice from your physician. Please consider your own medical history and consult with your own physician for your specific healthcare and/or medical needs and about your concerns for yourself and your family.